You're a Chinese businessman, proudly holding the keys to your brand new condo in Beijing. The smog is thick, the neighbors spit louder than the morning traffic, and every time you park your luxury SUV, someone leaves a scratch on the side. But don't worry, salvation is only a 4-hour flight away. Welcome to Singapore, the Disneyland for rich Chinese people who want all the glory of being Chinese, without the shame of being Chinese. Now, before you get defensive, let's be honest. In Japan, Chinese are labeled as illegal aliens. In Korea, you're branded as countrymen with no manners. But in Singapore, you're the majority. 75% of the population shares your ancestry. Finally, a place where no one is going to sneer at you for ordering hot water at a cafe. And here's the real magic. In Singapore, you don't need to bother with English. Forget the textbooks. Forget the IELTS score. Just open your mouth, speak Mandarin, and voila, you're understood. Even the government official will nod at you, half asleep, but still nodding. It's like being in China, except the streets are clean, the air doesn't kill you, and people don't fight over seats on the MRT, at least not as aggressively. So what do Chinese elites do? They sell off their homes in Beijing, Shanghai, maybe even Gwangju, because why stay in a polluted, crowded, stressful city when you can trade all of that for a tax haven, English signage you'll never read, and durians that cost as much as a car down payment? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why for Chinese people, Singapore isn't just an escape, it's marketed as eternal salvation. The problem? Salvation comes with service charges, and Singapore always collects. Let's start with Japan, the land of order, convenience stores, and endless rules about separating your trash. If you're Chinese and living there, congratulations. You've just been promoted to the role of illegal alien, whether you like it or not. The irony? Japan's streets are filled with Chinese tourists, Chinese-owned stores, and half of Tokyo's Louis Vuitton bags are purchased by Chinese wallets. Yet somehow locals still manage to wrinkle their noses and mutter, "Ah, Chinese," as if you're a public health hazard. Then hop over to Korea. Beautiful mountains, K-dramas, and an endless stream of pop idols with flawless skin. But if you're Chinese, oh, suddenly you're not a tourist bringing in money. You're the rude cousin who never learned table manners. Ask any Korean taxi driver and they'll tell you, Chinese, they spit, they shout, they have no manners. Congratulations, you've just been demoted from alien to uncivilized relative. It's like being at a family reunion where no one actually wants you there. Now here comes the plot twist. Singapore. Land of chewing gum bans, sparkling clean toilets, and fines for everything. But if you're Chinese, forget all the insults, all the eye rolls, all the passive-aggressive comments. Here, you're not an alien. You're not an embarrassment. You're the majority shareholder of society itself. 75% of Singaporeans trace their roots back to the Middle Kingdom. That means the guy next to you on the MRT, probably your ancestor's neighbour. The lady at the hawker stall, probably cooking noodles the way your grandmother used to, only cleaner and with government approval. So while Japan files you under unwanted immigrant and Korea mutters impolite cousin, Singapore puts out the welcome mat. It whispers, "Here, you belong." No need to apologize for your accent, no need to hide your roots. Because in Singapore, being Chinese isn't a liability, it's the default setting. Now let's talk about one of the greatest miracles of Singapore. In most countries, if you're Chinese and you want to integrate, the first thing people tell you is, learn the language. In Japan, it's Japanese. In Korea, it's Korean. In America, it's English. You spend years memorizing textbooks, hiring tutors, and crying into your grammar flashcards, only to have a native speaker still smirk and say, "Wow, your accent is so cute." But in Singapore, forget it. Throw the English dictionary into the trash bin next to the durian shells. All you need is Mandarin. Just open your mouth, order your kopi in Mandarin, and boom, you're basically home. The bank teller, Mandarin. The hawker uncle, Mandarin. Even the taxi driver who's cursing you for not paying by pay now, Mandarin. It's as if Singapore collectively decided, why bother with English when we can just run the country in Chinese subtitles? Here's the kicker. English may be the official working language, plastered on every government sign and MRT announcement, but in daily life, Mandarin dominates like a karaoke singer hogging the mic. The only time you really need English is if you're filling out tax forms or trying to sound fancy at a cocktail party. But even then, just sprinkle a few English words into your Mandarin sentence. Something like, "Wo think Singapore hen safe," and voila, you sound exactly like a local. For wealthy Chinese migrants, this is paradise. No awkward English lessons, no fear of mispronouncing 30 as dirty, no humiliation at the immigration counter. Singapore practically hands you cultural citizenship on a silver platter. You can keep your ancestral tongue, keep your habits, and still feel like you're running the show. And let's not forget the best part. Unlike in Japan or Korea, no one will look at you funny for being too Chinese. Because in Singapore, everyone is Chinese, or at least close enough. Let's be honest. Religion has always been a tricky business for the Chinese. Some attend church in America, not out of devotion, but because it's basically a free networking club with hymns. Others in Korea pretend to be pious on Sundays just to get social approval, or, let's be real, free kimchi after service. And in China itself, you don't exactly get brownie points for being too religious. At best, you get suspicious looks. At worst, you get a government official asking why you're singing foreign songs about salvation. Enter Singapore, the miracle country where you can skip the church entirely but still get baptized in the holy waters of social acceptance. Here, salvation doesn't require prayer, confession, or hymnals. It requires only one thing: money. Buy a condo, hire a maid, enroll your kid in an international school, and congratulations, you've been granted eternal redemption in the eyes of Singaporean society. And the best part, no one's forcing you into a pew on Sunday morning. Salvation in Singapore comes wrapped in air-conditioned malls and Michelin-starred hawker stalls. Forget sermons about sin. The only sermon here is, did you pay your condo maintenance fee this month? For many Chinese migrants, this is perfection. You don't have to wrestle with guilt, morality, or awkward questions about whether Buddha approves of your BMW. Singapore already sanctifies you just for existing within its clean, manicured borders. It's like being in a temple where the gods are cash, condos, and credit cards. So when people call Singapore eternal salvation for the Chinese, it's not because of divine intervention. It's because Singapore offers what no church ever could: the ability to live comfortably, free of judgment, while still feeling like you've been chosen. Picture this: a family in Beijing sitting in their luxury apartment, sipping imported wine while staring out the window. Instead of a skyline, they see smog. Not just a little haze. No, we're talking, is that the sun or just another factory explosion? Kind of smog. The kids cough like they're auditioning for a tuberculosis documentary, and suddenly the parents realize maybe it's time to cash out and move. Meanwhile, in Shanghai, it's not the air, it's the stress. Competition so brutal it makes Squid Game look like a children's birthday party. Property prices climbing higher than the Oriental Pearl Tower, while salaries barely move. Parents see their children crushed under mountains of homework and think, wait, why are we paying 10 million yuan for an apartment just to suffer? And then there's Gwangju, yes, even in Korea. Some ethnic Chinese families there dream of Singapore too. Because let's face it, in Korea you're always that Chinese neighbor, never fully accepted. Why deal with side-eye at the grocery store when you can move to Singapore and become part of the mainstream majority overnight? So what do? They sell it all. Beijing condo, gone. Shanghai townhouse, listed. That Gwangju flat you bought for status? Bye-bye. They convert their life savings into Singaporean condos with names like The Palm, Marina Residences, or Sky Heaven, because nothing screams salvation louder than a building shaped like a giant glass cruise ship. It's the ultimate migration pitch. Trade grey skies for blue ones, exchange judgmental neighbours for fellow Mandarin speakers, and replace the stress of daily survival with the stress of paying Singaporean school fees. But hey, at least when your child fails math in Singapore, you can blame it on the system, not on being Chinese. For the wealthy, it's a no-brainer. Sell in the motherland, buy in the promised land. From the Great Wall to Marina Bay Sands, the exodus is complete. So the Chinese elite arrive in Singapore, sign the papers for their shiny new condo with a name like Ocean Infinity Sky Palace, because apparently Singapore developers believe the longer the name, the higher the rent. And suddenly, life feels perfect. No more smog, no more discrimination, no more being treated like the embarrassing cousin at the family reunion. This is paradise, right? Well, paradise comes with fine print. Day-to-day life for Chinese migrants in Singapore is a curious blend of comfort, control, and constant calculation. On one hand, you can live in Mandarin. From the taxi uncle to the hawker auntie, everyone understands you. You don't need English, and you certainly don't need to study Singlish, that mysterious dialect where can la can mean both yes, no, and maybe, depending on the eyebrow angle. But then reality kicks in. Groceries, twice as expensive as Shanghai. Imported fruit, might as well be buying gold bars. School fees for your kids? Congratulations, you just paid the equivalent of a small Beijing apartment for them to learn math in air-conditioned classrooms. Even your daily kopi is cheaper in China, yet here you pay triple just because it comes in a cup with a lion logo. And let's not forget, Singapore is small, very small. After the third weekend trip to Orchard Road and Marina Bay Sands, you start asking yourself, so, where's the rest of the country? Spoiler alert, that is the rest of the country. Paradise has only so many shopping malls before it starts feeling like a luxury hamster cage. Yet, despite the costs and the size, Chinese migrants still wake up each day with one comforting thought. At least here, no one calls me an alien, no one rolls their eyes when I speak Mandarin, and no one tells me I have no manners. Here, I'm not the outsider. Here, I'm the VIP member of a Mandarin-speaking majority club. So yes, life in Singapore's pseudo-paradise may be expensive, cramped, and over-regulated. But for the Chinese migrant, it's still infinitely better than being the butt of the joke in Tokyo or Seoul. Here's the ultimate irony. Chinese elites escape Beijing's smog, Shanghai's rat race, and Gwangju's side eyes, only to land in Singapore thinking they've discovered Eden. And yes, Singapore looks like paradise. Clean streets, predictable order, and an MRT system that doesn't collapse during rush hour. It's China without the chaos, Korea without the sneering, and Japan without the visa headaches. But scratch the glossy surface, and you realize Singapore isn't so much freedom as it is a well-upholstered cage. You can breathe, yes, but only within carefully drawn boundaries. Don't chew gum, don't litter, don't talk too loud in public, or you'll find yourself fined faster than you can say, Yong Yuan de Ju Shu. In other words, paradise comes with a rule book longer than the Great Wall. And that's where the satire kicks in, because the Chinese didn't actually escape anything. In China, you live under a system that tells you what you can say, what you can watch, what you can do. In Singapore, you also live under a system that tells you what you can say, what you can watch, what you can do. Except here, the fines are printed neatly on laminated signs in 4 languages. One authoritarianism is noisy and unpredictable. The other is polite and air-conditioned. It's like trading a chaotic dragon for a disciplined one. The scales are shinier, the claws are manicured, but it's still a dragon, and you're still inside its mouth. So yes, for Chinese migrants, Singapore feels like eternal salvation. But it's not heaven. It's just a premium version of the same reality they tried to escape. The difference? In Singapore, the oppression is branded, sanitized, and comes with a complimentary Marina Bay Sands light show. So here we are. The Chinese elite calls Singapore a haven of eternal salvation. No discrimination, no language barrier, no church bells. Just palm trees, condos, and a government that loves order more than Confucius loved hierarchy. On paper, it looks like heaven. But in practice, it's just another carefully designed cage, only this one smells like perfume instead of factory smoke. And that's the real question for you, the viewer. Which cage would you choose? China's, chaotic, smoggy, but at least unpredictable, or Singapore's, polished, spotless, but suffocating in silence? Would you rather be an alien in Tokyo, a rude cousin in Seoul, or a majority shareholder in Singapore's sanitized monopoly? Because here's the punchline, salvation always comes with a receipt. In China, you pay with freedom. In Korea, you pay with dignity. In Japan, you pay with identity. But in Singapore, you pay with money, a lot of it. Eternal salvation, sure. But don't forget, the bill is itemized and the service charge is non-negotiable. So what do you think? Is Singapore really the promised land for the Chinese, or just the world's most luxurious waiting room where salvation is sold by the square foot? Drop your answer in the comments, because honestly, this is the debate no one dares to have. But you know you have an opinion,